sometime in the next few decades, humans will leave this planet to live in another world.
That means that some people in our life can be the first Martians. How about that?
We're finding out a lot about how to explore Mars in our station. Over 1,000 people from over 40 countries have actually participated in one crew or another.
It's the grandest adventure I could possibly imagine. That is, for me, the most important reason why we should pursue the establishment of life on Mars.
If we go to Mars in our time, 200 years from now, there'll be new branches of human civilization on Mars.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Red Planet Live. I'm your host, Ron Craig, and it is episode 6 of Red Planet Live. And actually, on this episode, we actually have Leonard David. So he's actually going to be joining us today to actually talk about Mars and space and quite a few things, actually. So just to give you a brief introduction to Leonard. So Leonard David is a space journalist reporting on space activities for over 50 years. His most recent book was written for National Geographic Moon Rush, the new space race, released in May 2019. Leonard is also author of Mars, Our Future on the Red Planet, published by National Geographic in October 2016. The book is the companion volume to Mars, a National Geographic Channel television series from executive producers Ron Howard and Brian Grazer. Leonard is also the co-author with Apollo 11's Buzz Aldrin, you heard that right, of Mission to Mars, My Vision for Space Exploration, released in 2013. And published by National Geographic. So I would definitely want to say that let's have an absolute warm welcome for Leonard David. So I'll just bring him right in. Hey, Leonard.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good.
Ron,
welcome to the show. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. And I wanted to first off actually wish you a happy belated birthday. I think you just had a birthday that just went by a few days ago.
I am still alive. This is day 2 of being 75 plus 2, so I feel good. Stable.
Well, you look great. No, it's it's an absolute privilege to actually have you on the show. It's when the Mars Society mentioned about, hey, we were talking to Leonard David, and he was saying that he might be he might be available to come on the show, and I was like, yeah, you kidding me? So it's an absolute privilege to have you here. It's been we were in the pre-show having quite a bit of chit chat as well. So it's an absolute privilege, sir, to have you here. And I think the audience is definitely stoked. I think I was telling you that just the amount of input and the amount of excitement that you're going to be on the show today has just been phenomenal. I think you've made such an impact. I mean, you've been doing this for a couple of years, I think, about 50 or so. So I think
it's been a long haul. It's been a really my career in space journalism, whatever you want to tag it. It's been a long haul, and it's been fun, and I've learned a lot. And as I get older, I hit that 75, and I'm starting to be retrospective now about what value of the space program. Where are we going? Where haven't we been? How Mars fits into this kludge of an imagination of pioneering the space frontier, and I'm just every day I kind of am probably getting more maudlin about the whole thing, and I'm trying to sort it out in my own mind. So I appreciate the time to talk to you to try to help me sort out where we're going. And I think hopefully your viewers are bright enough and young enough to pioneer the space frontier. But these old guys, am I valuable with my thoughts about where we've come from and where we're going? Who knows? But it's what a rush. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think, we were talking before the show, which, about, the things, if we put it in perspective in terms of, how things, how, let's say, the velocity of things that were happening in the past, and in terms of what's happening, in the last few years alone. I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing. I mean, I think, we can, as a journalist, I'm sure we could ask you today, and maybe I'll put you right on the spot. I mean, if you can think of what's happened in the last week, just somewhere, I mean, in the last week, I mean, what have you seen just in this last, I'm sure you can even say just today, but in the last few days, I mean, what have you seen out there?
We just had a SpaceX launch with another batch of Starlink satellites go up, and he was successful in bringing the booster stage back onto the drone ship. That happened.
Yeah.
Oh, we got 2 space tourists from Japan ready to go to launch here in the next week or so on a Soyuz rocket to the space station to stay up there for a couple, 12 days or so. Yep. It goes on. My wife and I, we just got off the balcony up here. We live up in Colorado at 9,000 feet, and we just saw the space station go by. This is all within a half hour. And we saw Venus and we saw Jupiter. And, it's an amazing time, what is happening. And one of my best friends here is Dylan Taylor. This is the weirdest thing that happened to me in the last week. I got a note that Blue Origin is going to do their New Shepard flight. And a friend of mine that's been up here, and I know him pretty well, Dylan Taylor is going up on the next space tourist flight on New Shepard. I mean, it's getting personal. It's getting really real for me. I got people I know and I really respect going up into suborbital space. So, wow, it's pretty amazing what's happening personally, and I think in the big picture there's so much more going on, and we'll see Perseverance rover, China on Mars, European Space Agency working with China to relay data out of their Chinese rover. We got Perseverance, we got Curiosity running around, InSights on Mars, and kind of giving us some signals about the internal structure of Mars. Wow. Okay. That's all in the last week.
So what are we going to do next week?
It's going fine.
We're going to Trump this week. It's not, it's like, it's because, we actually we are a species that likes to one up ourselves, continuously. So now we just have to do more and more and more. It's almost like this exponential curve. Somebody decided to put a 1 over something.
But I think, I think you ought to reflect on, let's chat about that a little bit, how much we know that. And maybe a lot of your viewers here know that, but the public globally, how much do they sense how much is happening globally now in space exploration? And then you toss in things like the Russian ASAT test. This was very destructive. The consequences of what they just did. I wrote a little editorial. I don't like to do that too much, but I call Russia crash test dummies. This is not a good thing to be doing.
Yeah.
And the orbital debris issue is something I've written about for decades. Every year, it's worse and worse. Yep. We got to come to grips with this one. And other than that, I'm just going to be quiet.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's a fair point, because one thing about space is we have a very shrouded lens being on the planet and being terrestrial, is that we can actually do garbage collection. We can pull out the Hoover. We can go across the carpet and clean up our debris and clean up our mess. Space, things don't fall down all that often. So it stays up there and actually becomes an impact. It could literally be a hazardous situation for 1,000 years. This is actually something we have to worry about. It's not so easy to send a Hoover up or a Dyson and go up there and clean up the orbit, right? So I think that, I think, decisions are a little bit more volatile in terms of what you do, and the consequences that actually can be realized over centuries. And so you have to be careful with that.
We're in a real problem here, and really, I've spent a lot of time writing about space debris, but I don't want to get off into too much negativity. But we got to deal with this, and we're in a problem. We got a problem here, and you got some groups that are. One of the things that is just irksome for me, you got people going sustainability of space. Well, we're cutting that off. This the only sustainability that's going on is problem. We got more problems than solutions right now, and one solution for orbital debris does not fit the entire pattern of where we're going in the crisis of orbital debris. So, I'm really. Yesterday, we postponed a space station spacewalk because of potential of orbital debris from the Russian ASAT test.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're cruising for a bruising. This is my mother talking.
Yep. So it's a good saying.
You remember that?
Yep.
Maybe your mother said the same thing. You're cruising for a bruising. And this is where we're going, because the first time we lose life in space because of orbital debris, everybody's going to have sweaty palms, and we're going to drag out 30 studies that have been done telling everybody that we got a problem. And this is where we're going to be. The alarms are going off. I'm waiting every this last flyby of debris from the space station. At some point, as I think Elon the other day or yesterday or whenever it was, he's moving Starlinks around to try to avoid debris. So this is getting pretty real, and it's pretty real. It's real.
Yep, it's right in your face, and it's literally on your face.
That's a negative thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, nothing else going on, right? No, it's So I mean, there's it's got a couple of topics I kind of want to go over, just kind of set the theme for the show. I mean, one thing I really want to jump into is just because of your long-standing career, and that you've had the the opportunity and probably the privilege from your point of view to meet a lot of amazing people in the industry. But you've managed, you've written a number of books. You've written. I don't even know if you know the number of actually how many articles and that you've written, but I was looking on the site because on your website, which actually we'll post this up here for everybody to so they know where to go to check out your website, so everybody can see there, leonarddavid.com. You've archived a lot of your writings that you've done over the years. There's a lot there. I'm seeing some days that you're actually putting out 2 to 3 articles a day that you're actually writing about. So, I mean, I think if we do the math, which, it's too late maybe to do some math now for me, but it's you've had just a massive amount of contributions and in the industry. But I wanted to really touch on is that, I mean, you co-authored a book, and you were actually doing a book tour with Buzz Aldrin, in which I don't think we need to do any introduction of who he is and what he has done. Maybe for some of the audience, but obviously think man who walked on the moon. Yeah. So, I mean, can you just kind of give a little bit of, I want to hear your thoughts. First of all, writing a book with him, going on a book tour with him, talking to the guy. I mean, that's in my wildest dreams. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
That whole experience was just so unique. And we have a room in the back here of the house where we have a sign that my wife bought. Buzz Aldrin slept here. He came several times, and we sat out in our little balcony out there in the open air, and we just talked about the whole experience. I was trying to drag out of him, what could be unique, what could be different about for a book. And he's just such a wonderful guy. I love him. He was just, very personal, personable and personal. And, his son, Andy Aldrin, and he came up several times, and we all sat around, and Andy and Buzz and myself, and trying to tape record all this interviews for the book. It was just fascinating. It was just, I'm an outsider, and here is Buzz and his son talking about the whole the Apollo 11 experience, but also his Gemini experience and all the other things that Buzz at MIT, orbital rendezvous, Dr. Rendezvous. There was just so many things that took place here in home, and taping all that, and then the bad thing for me, I had to transcribe all that.
No.
I had to go and, the worst part is, okay, you can have somebody go and talk, then you got to transcribe all that.
Yeah.
And I have, I can't tell you what I've got, but it's a huge amount of material. And at the end of the day, Buzz is just one of these thinkers that is on his feet thinking. And, while you're interviewing him, he's coming up with new ideas while you're interviewing. So from a writer's standpoint, you're trying to figure out, okay, what is the essence of what he's getting to here? So we worked it out, and we were proud of the book, and going on a book tour with this guy was unbelievable. I mean, I was so fortunate to be with Buzz on, I don't even know what the number of book signing things. And let me be a little weird, but you're sitting there, and I'm just the guy that helped them write the book. We work together. But when you sit there and you watch the people that come up to the table, they're crying. Very powerful.
Wow. If you take a moment, I mean, that's got to be, the impact has to be just surreal.
It's pretty impressive. He's used to it. I wasn't.
Yeah.
And what I got out of that was people wanted to tell, they wanted to tell him where they were when he walked on the moon.
Wow.
And I tell you, it was really impressive.
Yeah. And I'm sure he wanted to listen too.
I said, you got to write this book, because if you just come to our book tour and tape all that and listen to the people that came and discussed where they were, I mean, it really was odd. And there were people that, they bring a moon globe. Can you sign the moon globe? And then you have somebody that's, I don't know how old they were, but they were going, my dad worked on the parachutes for the Apollo 11. And, you have all these sagas. Yeah. It was pretty, I just saw a cross section of America walk by. Yeah. At a time that was pretty impressive. Obviously the Apollo 11 landing, but we had all these other Apollo flights, but that first one was just spectacular with Neil and Buzz and Mike Collins and the command module. But I tell you, it's still, you can tell, it just resonates with me. It was just an impressive a collision of history, people coming up in the last few years talking about it, and they wanted to express to him where they were when he walked up on the moon.
Yeah, it's amazing how that it gets etched into your I used to think etched into your memory, but it actually gets, I think, etched into your whole being, into your soul.
Yeah,
It's almost
there was
like
something
it's
there. I really, I really, when I think about it, it was just a life learning experience as a space rider. It was great.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, it had to be just completely overwhelming. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, meeting. I mean, it's like, having you here on my show. I mean, I feel completely overwhelmed and privileged and humbled, that for every guest that's ever come on this show, because, and I think this is a kind of an interesting diversion, as maybe we'll talk a little bit about this next, is, how we kind of get our passion about why we love space and what we get into it. I mean, I think we always have kind of a pivotal moment. I want to speak generally for everybody, but I think, maybe a lot of us have this moment where we can look back in the past and say, this is it. This is where I fell in love with space. This is where it really touched on my soul. And, for me, I mean, I think back, and for me, it was actually just going through, space in general, looking up at the stars and being a dreamer. But then I think when I cracked open a cover of Carl Sagan's book, back when I was younger, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. There's pictures of nebulas and planets, and then it grew from there. It was just the passion exploded. So I kind of put that question to you, is, thinking back, back when you were in school, or even as a young boy, what really kind of drove it for you, where that you started looking at space and thinking, wow, this is it. This is for me. This is what I'm going to do.
It's a weird little sidebar to my life. My dad, in San Diego, California, where I grew up and was born, was a postman. My mom, every day, we greeted the postman because we were family. It was kind of a postman family. Now, we grew up in San Diego. We're talking the 50s, early 60s time frame. And I'll make this short because it gets bizarre, but the guy that came with the mail had all these magazines that all the engineers at General Dynamics in San Diego and the Atlas Manufacturing Company, they moved on, and nobody had a forwarding address. And he pulled all these magazines together and gave them to me as a kid. And so at 12 or 13, I was reading Missiles and Rockets magazine, a thing called Astronautics magazine, which turned into AIAA journal, and something called Aviation Week, and they didn't even have space technology attached to it. Mm-hmm. He gave me all this stuff. Plus, there was a bunch of other magazines on ground support equipment for space, bizarre engineering magazines that nobody in their right mind would ever read, except for me.
Maybe me too.
Yeah. And he dumped those off every week. And we're talking, 60s time frame. And then one day, a magazine came from AIAA that had, it was all the members of AIAA at the time, which was fairly tight, people working in the space program in that time frame. And it not only had their work address, it had their home address. And luckily, I was a fanatic on typing, and my mom had a Royal typewriter, and I became a royal pain in the neck because I wrote letters to everybody you can imagine: Von Braun, Max Faget, Pickering, Rogallo. I wrote letters to these people. This is pre-internet. I know it's hard to believe. There was a time.
I remember that too. You can tell that the show
of all these people. And basically the letter said, "Send me everything on your desk that you don't want." And I got stuff I got stuff back.
Yeah.
The mailman hated me because he was hauling these
Yeah.
big, packages of stuff. And, I was getting early on, it was just amazing amount of material. And, I just ate that up. I went crazy. I love the technical aspect of it. We're talking again, the 60s, things were blowing up. They were going left, they were going right, they were going up, they were not working. They were successful. And, I was able to, be a cul-de-sac of all this stuff that was coming in the magazines. And, that has really probably done more for me in my writing career to realize that people were behind these projects. There were, one of the things that I think is missing in a lot of this stuff, Voyager does this, or, Juno does that, or the Perseverance rover does that. You know how many people are involved?
Yep.
There are so many unique characters in this story that deserve, kudos that never will be seen. Some of them are.
Yep.
I try to write about some of them because they're just amazing engineers, women. One of the things that certainly has gone off the charts is how many women engineers I've written to and talked to in the last decade. It's just scaling up big time.
Yeah.
Very impressive. So, I don't know where I'm going here, but
That's okay.
The human side of space is so somewhat left out of the picture of what we do here.
Yeah.
When we see these successes of the Mars helicopter, or another flight of or Perseverance does what it does, or Curiosity lands, or
Yep.
it's what an amazing matrix of people that are biting their nails that they did okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's a takeaway for for some of the companies out there and organizations, as NASA, SpaceX, Blue Origin, is that we're absolutely fascinated by what you're doing in terms of the technology, and we're seeing these rockets go into space, but we don't necessarily, other than seeing the people that are on the broadcast that are maybe doing the live streaming of what's actually happening, but we don't get to meet the people behind the scenes to say that really make this possible, because without people, there's no rockets going up in space, and there's no rovers going on Mars. And I have a friend, he actually likes to refer to them as unsung heroes.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to do a better job of actually shining the light
for unsung heroes.
Yeah, I think it's an important. Just to kind of touch on,
one of the things that you can see, to me, particularly my good friends at Jet Propulsion Lab, I've bothered those people for decades. When you go to a landing on Mars, and they got the 7 minutes of terror, which was a great information to the public about how JPL fears 7 minutes in terror. Yeah. And, letting people know what can go wrong is really important, because I went out there for a lot of Mars missions and talked to people ahead of the Mars landing, whether it's Polar Lander or Curiosity or whatever it was, the Mir, Spirit and Opportunity. And you go out there and talk to them ahead of time. I was lucky, space.com, when I was kind of fully engaged there, said, go out and do the interviews. And boy, I learned a lot. Yeah. And then you go talk to them after it landed or failed. And you go, why did it succeed? Why did it fail? And boy, what a story. What a story.
Yeah. And the sheer size of these things too. I mean, it's got to be amazing. I see this. I haven't had the privilege myself to actually be down in Florida or in Starbase or anywhere, and actually been able to see these rockets up close. And I mean, I just can't, other than, we see these diagrams coming back and saying, this is, here's what a truck looks like, and here's what a Starship looks like. And I mean, that doesn't, I think, do it justice in terms of what it really looks like to be there standing, looking up at these things. And it must just be completely mind-blowing that the scale is just, I mean, that's actually something that people have built and built very quickly. I mean, if you look at what Elon Musk is doing and how quickly these rockets are being built and put up, I mean, it's got to be, they're building skyscrapers in a very short period of time. I mean, not obviously the same kind of, there's no rooms inside, but it's an amazing feat of engineering. The fact that it works, achieving orbit is already a massive feat of engineering. But to make all of this work and to do so so reliably now, it's absolutely amazing that a rocket can go up into space, make it safely, and then now they can come back and land. Like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, that to me is just blows my mind that, I mean, stages can actually come back and land on drone ships, and which helps with the debris. I know we don't want to get back into the debris conversation, but that's thinking ahead.
One of the great times I had just from reporting wise was going out to the Delta Clipper X flight test in New Mexico. This was Pete Conrad and Jim French and a lot of friends I know out there in New Mexico trying to get that thing to go up, come down. And they were way ahead of everybody in the sense of trying to reusable space launch capability. And that was a lot of fascinating people. Again, so many people were involved in that program that nobody will probably ever recognize, but maybe they will. Jeff Sponable at DARPA, he was formerly DARPA, and unbelievable. Pete Worden continues to be amazing to me with his where he's going. So from a reporter standpoint, you go to these events and you see people trying to make the future happen.
Yep.
And you get cards, you collect their cards, and you try to stay in touch with them. Now we're into the internet age, but trying to stay in touch with all the people that are working on these things, totally amazing. And there's a lineage here. Everybody that we're saluting today has to go back and look at the heritage of where we've come from, and not only successes but total duds, failures. Entrepreneurs. I don't know how many of these groups are no longer that I've written about over the years, and we have a whole nother succession of entrepreneurs that are making a dent. Rocket Lab today did an amazing Beck and his Rocket Lab people did an amazing presentation on where they think they're going to go. And I love it. It's just wonderful. But at the end of the day, being the curmudgeon I am, it's still 3, 2, 1. You push the button and it's got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, Astra rocket, they're one of the flights before Astra kind of went sideways for a while and then it straightened itself up. But their people are doing wonderful things, and I don't know how this is all this is what's so much fun. If you try to follow it all, I'll salute Jeff Faust, particularly at Space News. I mean, he's probably one of the better ones that are trying to follow all the groups now that are trying to do entrepreneurial activities. And it's difficult because since we've been talking, probably 5 groups have been formed, to do access to space. Spin launch. There's a new one.
Yeah.
That one is, to me, one of the things to watch. Spin launch. There's a lot of background here, but it's the whole concept of accelerating payloads out of the Earth and into orbit. We got ways to go. Everything we're doing now is kind of at some point we're going to be looking back and going, oh, that's a kind of the Wright brothers moment there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So Leonard, I was going to think. So, do you mind if we actually there's a number of questions that actually came in from the viewers. We have a lot of people on here actually talking, chatting, and asking some questions. So I'm just going to throw a couple on the screen if you don't mind, and we'll just. I have a whole volley of my own, but obviously I don't want to keep you too long. But yeah, so I'll just throw a couple questions if that's okay, and see if where we go.
Sorry to ramble.
Not a problem. I'm enjoying every bit of it. So let me. There's a longer question, so it's gonna be a little short on the screen. So from Jess Baum, and sorry if I say your name incorrectly. So I have a question regarding how young people like me, apparently not like me, will be influenced by the new space race. To Leonard David, to your own perspective, how do you think or see how the new generation, space generation, will be impacted or influenced by space exploration? Basically, how society will look compared to the 1960s or early 2000s. So I guess, yeah, let you take that away.
No, that's a good one. And, you're kind of blessed with the internet because, I mean, if you're like me, go sign up. Go when you see a news item about some new company that got formed or whatever, sign up. Watch them. Keep an eye on these groups. One of the things that's happened to me over the years is a lot of the groups fold, but the people move on to other things. They have a passion, and obviously the writer there has got a passion about this. So follow those groups and keep an eye on them, and become part of a news item that you're going to get every update, or watch them on Twitter or whatever you got to do. I guess the last part of that question, the space program is not going to be like what it is now. It's changing. There are more entry passions by people. It's just, I've lived through, again, I don't want to beat on the drum here, but I do feel most of my life has been Wright brothers. The way we're doing this thing is bass-ackward. It's just, it's just the way it is. It's government contracts. It's NASA, pouring money into somebody. And I think we should give NASA some credit. And I have a lot of problems with some of these groups that are so anti-NASA. A lot of these entrepreneurial activities would not be happening unless NASA got in there and did private public partnerships. And I wish we'd come up with a new name for the thing, because I can never say it. Public-private partnerships. It's just, it's a new breed of doing space, and we got to get in there now. In saying that, we are not there yet. We have not seen the actual forthcoming, what's going to happen with public-private partnerships yet on a lot of moon landers, and I see a lot of craters in the moon coming. I'm not there yet. I wish them all well, and I think the U.S. is going to have some issues about landing on the moon. And this public-private partnership is great. We'll see, and you build on that. Who was successful? Why were they successful? One of the things I worry about in a lot of these private entrepreneurial things, why did you fail? You need, and Alon is good at this. Alon, he really looked back on why he failed early on, and build on that. You're not going to have a success right off the bat. Perhaps, maybe you will, but so we're moving there, and that's good. And I anticipate a lot of craters on the moon coming up that were artificially made, and but we're going to get there, and it just opens up a whole nother thing about Artemis and all the things we're trying to do. Nelson, the new administrator, we're already pushing. We're not. 2024 is not going to happen. We're going to move into 2025 or 26 or
plagued by delays.
And
it's constant, right? And
no,
I appreciate it.
Don't forget the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about the China, and I'm a big watcher of what China's doing. Get ready.
Mm-hmm.
This is a space race.
Yep.
If people say no, it's not. It's a space race.
Yeah.
If you are a U.S. centric, person, and Artemis and all this other stuff, stand by. China is really moving out, and I'm not sure there's not even a Mars return sample mission that China is going to pull off before NASA and ESA ever aggregate, what we're going to do there.
Yeah.
So, I'm if you're not following it, you better.
Yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, really. I mean, it's they're not just talk. It's not just talk that we're going to do this or do that. I mean, they got craft on the moon, they got craft on Mars. They're making progress that's just phenomenal level of progress, and it's accelerating. It's not like it's slowing down. And I think that we have to be, and which is, I think, a good thing. We want to. I mean, I'm more for cooperation in space than competition. I would love to see us actually all working together. And we actually have had a question come in actually regarding that. And I'm just going to go pull that up because I think it's relevant, and I think it's a good time to bring that up. So let me just grab that there. In terms of, so where was that question that came in? There we go. China's evolving space exploration plans. Is there any room for U.S.-China cooperation? And I think we should actually expand that, not just U.S. and China cooperation, but the world cooperation as a whole. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of?
You just saw something fairly unique that happened just the other day with Europe working with China on relaying their Zhurong rover data through the Mars Express of European Space Agency. They're kind of moving out. There is no Wolf Amendment bothering the Europeans. In the U.S., we've got this amendment that has been put out there, and I think it needs another look. We got China bringing back lunar samples that U.S. scientists would be hungry to obtain, and they're starting to farm those out to other countries, not the U.S. at this point, but. We gotta, I don't know, and some of your viewers are going to be against me, but I'm kind of a peacenik guy. I'm sorry. I'm a 60s guy, and I really think that we've got to be really careful here about putting up barricades with other countries about scientific exchange. And I think you brought it up, Ron, about the intelligent gathering that goes on between countries. Science is science, and if we want to know where the moon came from, that'd be kind of fun. We're not even there yet. We're not sure exactly where the moon came from. We sent 12 people there at major expense, and we're still pondering, how did the moon form and where did it come from?
Yeah.
Okay, that was 25 billion. And so, all these samples are going to come back, and China's not quitting. Russia's going to get into this foray themselves. They're going to reactivate their own lunar sample return program. So we better get in gear here with the science community. And, I think I did an interview with Bill Nelson, the NASA administrator, not too long ago. And, it seems to me he's trying to sort it out. Can we don't want to violate the Wolf Amendment and all this other stuff. Are there ways that we can
Collaborate.
move to work
Yeah.
together. And I think there are.
Yeah.
Got to be creative. And I'm a kid that came into D.C., Washington, D.C. in the 70s, that Proxmire was saying, don't do anything with the Russians on that docking thing.
Yep.
And it turned into the Apollo-Soyuz docking capability. You know, so I know there's room in the heads of the lawmakers and the policymakers that we can do things together with countries that we were in a Cold War, kind of position with. So I know it can happen.
Yeah. I mean, private companies do it all the time. I mean, Google doesn't share all their information with Microsoft, but they do have strategic partnerships where they actually combine and they share, and they do it for the benefit of both organizations. So I don't see why this is not possible. I mean, like you said, you might have to be creative, but I think it is worth the effort to do. I mean, I know that I think there was a comment came out about cooperation, and I think Elon Musk got involved, and he actually, he didn't say much, but he said, what are the chances of, China and US working together? And he said, well, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, really.
So, I mean, it'd be nice to have something, because, we are all stronger together. And I mean, it's to make this a reality. I mean, we have a lot to do. There's a lot of exploring that's out there, a lot of possibilities. And I think that we're going to get there a lot faster if we're all working together to do it. And
again, it's a peacenik in me. We are the world. I can hear the song going, and it's okay. I think there's opportunity there, and I think there can be some, kind of guideposts to make sure we don't go overboard. But China is it's its own enigma. By itself. It's, one of the problems is it doesn't have a public affairs officer for China space. There's not, like, we're so used to NASA shoving all the stuff out, and it takes a while to get the stuff out of it's there if you spend time, which I do, on all the China science sites, and they're trying to get the word out on what they're doing. And it's exciting. I think, you go talk to U.S. scientists here, they're excited about what the Chang'e 5 lunar sample return is saying. And let's get together and can we agree on what it's saying?
Yep. So we had a couple other questions that came in. Actually, one of them, I actually think it must be someone that I'll put it up here. M. Seidel. So I don't know who that is, but it's... So really enjoyed riding to an event in Boulder with you and the Space Rider in 2013. Do you think the commercial space race going to pay dividends next year? But I think maybe first off is, do you know who's actually making this comment? I can't see the full name.
I'm not sure. Mark Seidel probably, or something. I think it's Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
He is a great thinker himself. He's probably going to answer that question.
He may have down below.
Well, the commercial space race going to pay dividends next year. It already has. I mean, it's not next year. It's pretty much happening, and the commercial space race, in the sense of entrepreneurial companies, trying to better themselves. Again, Peter Beck this morning, if you listen to his talk, he didn't say he was doing things different than Elon Musk, but he said basically he's doing things differently than Elon Musk, and it was pretty cool. I love all that. Let them. But at the end of the day, 3, 2, 1, you push the send button, and things got to go, and we'll see. Again, I've just written about so many entrepreneurial groups that I can't even remember who they are anymore. They're gone. Some of the people bounced off into other commercial space race sectors and have become legendary. It's just this public-private partnership we got to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
What is it that we really want out of that? Because a lot of these groups they're lucky to have stamps. They're lucky to have, internet capability or something. A lot of them have big dreams, but don't have a lot of money.
Yep.
And so, when NASA picking and choosing these groups that can provide cash, maybe we should be looking more at NASA and how they select these groups and what they hope comes out of them.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for them, but I'm gonna do one segue, which is bad.
No problem.
Well, okay. I think we got to be prepared for loss of life. We're getting into a situation with space tourism and commercial space activities that I'm particularly worried about is the loss of life. And of all the tragedies that I had to write about when I was in my space journalism full blitz, was Columbia and Challenger.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrific.
That was hard.
When you're there and you lose people, it becomes passionate. I mean, if you've interviewed the astronauts and they're gone, and you see the wreckage, of leftovers of spaceships, and it's going to be tough. And I think, we're kind of riding on fumes now on the commercial public-private partnership. And Dragon's flying fine. Great. We got the Soyuz is going to take 2 Japanese spaceflight tourists up there to the space station. Things can go wrong. And we got to be kind of prepared and how resilient we may have to be here about loss of life, because losing a bunch of sensors on a ton of hardware is much different than somebody you knew.
Yep.
It gets ugly, believe me. And
No,
it's just it's in the back of my mind. Don't get too at ease on pushing people up on these private rockets, and we may lose a crew.
Yep.
What is that going to do?
Yep. And it probably, we don't want it to happen, but I mean, it's almost like with airplanes, right? I mean, we know it's the safest place safest way to travel and fly, but I mean, there are accidents that do happen, and and we have to be prepared for that. We don't, it's almost what they say. You have to, we can do as much planning and preparation and testing as we possibly can, but there's always going to be anomalies and other factors that happen that we just did not see coming because, well, they just didn't see them coming. And it's sad. It's heartbreaking. I mean, we all know where we were when Challenger and Columbia exploded. It's like we were there watching, with with huge wonder and excitement in our eyes, right? And it's like, and so all of a sudden it's like, wait, what? It's like you got to be kidding. And it's hard. It's to see those failures, because I mean, those are just grandiose, epic failures because because of the loss of life. It's just so personal at that point.
Yeah, one of the worst again, I'm trying to go back into history here. I got invited to the vertical assembly building one year, and they had a room with all the good percentage of the Columbia debris in there. And it was, you're not supposed to talk about it much. You're not supposed to do this or that. I tell you, that was one of the most heart-wrenching things I've ever gone through, to look at hardware of a spaceship that crumbled and killed 7 people. And a Columbia tragedy, to this day, I don't think that story's been, personally, I don't think that story's been out there yet. There's a lot of things that shouldn't have happened. Anyway.
Yeah, we can move on. I get some other questions there.
Okay.
If you still have some time, I can. So one thing, you've written a number of pieces over the years about, the James Webb Space Telescope. And of course, I think you have an affectionate renaming of that, which I'm sure you'll touch on. But I wanted to kind of get your thoughts and impressions about that because, it's supposed to actually go up into space soon. I'm sure you have some your opinion on that as well. But what do you see that giving us the insight into? Of course, its main mission, of course, is to look a little further than our own solar system, but it does also have the potential to return just incredible imagery of Mars. And of course, this being a Mars show, I think we probably should talk a little bit about Mars. But
Yeah.
If you want to talk about like the James Webb Space Telescope and kind of what the hopes are for that, and of course it finally getting put up and getting through all the hurdles that it's had to go through. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, how is that going to open our eyes? Not just interstellar, but in our own solar system, and of course, it getting up there, of course, is the first milestone.
Yeah. Yeah. I have affection with the Jim Webb Space Telescope. First of all, I was very lucky when I first got to DC to actually talk to Jim Webb, one of the early NASA administrators. I never forget that. But, I always called Jim Webb Space Telescope the JWST. I kind of renamed it the Just Wait Space Telescope. And I've waited most of my life for this damn thing to get off the ground. And I sat in NASA headquarters in my 30 years or so at NASA coverage in DC. I'm going to be mean. Contractors lied how easy this was going to be. There was everybody in that room when I was in there kind of made it sound like, oh, we got the solutions to anything you want. And that's their job. They're trying to get the money from NASA, and they're making stuff up. And we did the spy telescope that had 50,000 things pop out of it, and everything's fine. Okay, we're there with Northrop Grumman, and they've had their own problems, and we've gotten a really, I don't even know what the total cost is of the damn thing.
No,
it's certainly not what it was when we started. It was called the Next Generation Space Telescope.
Yeah.
I'm getting more on the technical side of doing it, and there was a lot of frankly contractor hand waving, about how easy this is going to be. Turned out to be not that easy. No. And then we have a long time where new capabilities in space, I like to think that we've usurped already, perhaps with new capability, what Jim Webb Space Telescope could do. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. I haven't really spent a lot of time on it. I wrote a Scientific American article, and thanks to Jack Burns at University of Colorado at Boulder, he kind of gave me the title "Too Big to Fail." I don't know if we need to be there. Too big to fail.
Yeah.
Is that really where we want to be?
No, we don't.
Anyway, you're right. I mean, we're ready to launch this thing, and the pain, the agony. Thank God somebody put out some liquor glasses with the Jim Webb Space Telescope on it, because I think we were going to buy those. Because it was sold because if you're nervous now, you better get ready. Yeah. It's going to take a long time to get. We're going to L2. They're going to deploy that thing and unfurl it, and it may work. It may all go fine.
Yep.
The launch could go good. It's fine. And and then you're left with, okay, let's just be positive for a second. That thing works like a champ. And it could. I'm sure people are working so hard on that. And we're going to get a new vision of space. And this gets into interstellar and exoplanets and life detection. And we're on a roll there. I mean, just now, never mind JWST right now. Exoplanet detection is going up, AI capabilities going up. We're finding more planets out of Kepler data. It's clearly we've got a lot of learning to do here, and JWST will certainly add to that. And then you're already hearing where we're going next with the next versions of Space Telescope. So, I'm nervous about getting that thing off the ground and up. And then don't breathe easy. There's more worries to come because the deployment of the mirror, not the mirror, but the sunshade, all the other doodads that are on that telescope that have to happen at a pretty far away distance with no access to it.
No, it's not serviceable. Not easily serviceable. We'd have to be very creative.
Well, we may have a Rush Orion vehicle going out there, having astronauts, step on the side of it and kick it or something and get it into shape. But we're into something new and different there, and it's certainly a technological amazing story of how we got here. All the problems it's had, and
especially with the exoplanet discovery. That to me,
like I said the Just Wait Space Telescope, and you can take that all kinds of ways. I did that on purpose because if it works, just wait, Space Telescope. You won't believe what we're going to get out of that thing.
Yeah. Well, think about the first images that came back from Hubble. I mean, it was like, what do you mean? There's that many stars and galaxies out there? Right. It was just, because we have a lens. We have a very blurry lens that which we could like to call the atmosphere, which kind of obscures a fair portion, a great portion, and it's interesting with Hubble because of what it has opened up with with its visible light spectrum and UV, and James Webb actually going more I think it's got an infrared capability.
Okay, but what you're skipping there is where I'm worried. You remember when the Hubble Space Telescope was out of focus?
Yep, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems you have in these big telescope things, you got NASA Public Affairs and ESA and all these other people promising you the face of God, through these telescopes. They promise you so much, and then when something goes wrong, you've just crippled the public. And that happened with Hubble. I covered that one, and Hubble. Out of focus, astronauts trying to figure out, can I climb down inside, McCandless, and I talked about, he actually proposed a spacewalk to climb down into the damn telescope and try to fix the mirror. And, he had all kinds of ideas, but, it just, where am I going on that? Well, anyway, you can have problems on these things that are just going to be gut wrenching. And at L2, it's really a game changer. Making sure that thing works right.
And it's difficult. It
could be fine. Just wait, Space Telescope.
I mean, there's a lot of stress on the vehicles too. I mean, that's the thing is that the amount of forces that it actually takes to put something into orbit. It's something can things can happen there where some things can get rattled a little bit more than we hoped or expected. I mean, I know they do calculate, of course, this, and they do test, but there is a lot of strain and stress on vehicles to get these things to space. It's not an
just
easy
the
task.
other week they had a test at Kourou where they're launching this thing from, and they had some kind of launch ring or something blew out, and they went crazy trying to figure out, did it affect the telescope? What kind of vibrations went through.
Yep.
So, it's tenterhooks now. It's going to be wild. But this is the where are we going? But I do think, in the big picture, we can be a lot more creative today than we were when I sat in that room at NASA when something called the Next Generation Space Telescope was being discussed, and CubeSats, and there is a bunch of other opportunity here to do mind-boggling. If you want to be mind-boggled, we can do it. But Jim Webb is just an impressive engineering feat, and one hopes it goes well.
Okay, so I have a kind of a line of question that I'm going to throw at you there. Well, kind of just because we did touch on exoplanets and life, and life on Mars has actually been a very large part of that exploration. Is that, I mean, like it is for us, we've been this question of, are we alone in the universe? And, doesn't necessarily mean that something intelligent is looking back. We just want to know that life is possible, even if it's just next door. We want to make sure that we're just not a freak accident of the universe, which is, I mean, that's a very just thing to do and an important thing to do. But I kind of want to get your impressions on, I mean, we have, we're searching for life. We're searching for life, whether it's visibly, whether it's on planets, and then of course, when we have all of this UAP and UFO phenomenon that, that are happening, whether or not that's real or not. I mean, that's a whole other episode. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of, the search for life? I mean, to me, it's exciting. I mean, finding planets is just crazy that we can actually do invisibly, not just with them actually going, looking through, passing behind their star and actually seeing that the shadowing, but we actually have been able to directly image planets now. Not a lot, but of course we have a couple planets that were directly imaged. So, what are your thoughts on, finding life out there? I mean, is it going to happen? I mean, what are we looking for? How?
Yeah, well, certainly with JWST and a lot of other capability. I mean, we're starting to get pretty gutsy on talking about atmospheric profiling, of other stars, and planets around other stars. So we're getting pretty out there. And again, artificial intelligence and some of the new supercomputer capability is starting to crank in. That's pretty cool. And this is even before JWST, but yeah, the search for life. Boy, yeah, we don't want to get me too far into that one. We don't treat ourselves very well down here.
No, I agree with that.
And, it's great to have the audacity to look for life out there. And I think we're definitely going to find life. SETI has done tremendous work over the decades, Jill Charter and the SETI Institute and all the work they've done. There's really an interesting something happening, in my view. With the SETI, we have a little bit of a crashing thing going on. As a journalist, it's all good because it's all friction, and there's different opinions. What's going on. You got the UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomenon, people going. You got the UFO thing that's been there forever. Since I grew up, they're already here. They're already crashing. They're coming in. It's all philosophical stuff, and how we treat it is pretty bizarre right now. There's definitely a whole different kind of journalists write in. We have sidebars. And you get to the kind of the main theme, and then you do these sub things, and you try to get those in the article. And one of the weird ones is definitely unidentified aerial phenomena. We're at some point now with the government that says something's going on here. And unfortunately, in my mind, there's so much of a UFO community that, is already, they're walking among us, and, they crashed. I got an alien in my back, in the freezer, it goes on and on, and I see it every day because everybody's taking pictures of something in the air. And, it's just a hodgepodge of UFO mania going on now. It's never subsided, but it's becoming more prevalent because everybody has a video camera, or we got more reentry of space debris coming in or whatever, or the UAVs are everywhere. The drones are flying around, and if you've ever, I've written some stories on classified drones. I mean, there is some weird shit going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
I saw
amazing.
that. I go, that's a UFO. I don't know what it is. It's unidentified. It's flying, and it's an object.
Oh, it could have just been a bubble that the kid next door did.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff's being misidentified UFOs.
Yeah. Or advanced human technology.
I don't know. I have no answer to this, but I really tip my hat to Avi Loeb at Harvard. I think, of all the things that has put upturned the apple cart of SETI,
that did it.
Has been him.
Yeah,
he's a very interesting character in this, a new voice, and I appreciate his views. I don't know if he's right or wrong. I just like to hear him, because I've listened to my SETI folks for decades, and this guy is pushing the envelope. I don't know if he's going to have his fingers cut by the envelope.
Yep. He took tremendous risk doing that.
There's risk there.
Yeah.
I think he's on to something, and I don't know where the end of this is going. My guess, I'm going to tell you something that I don't want to talk about. This UAP phenomena is pretty bizarre, and I'm not sure that it's extraterrestrial. I think this is something else going on here.
Yeah.
That's so classified. That maybe we don't understand through the layers of classification what it is, but we'll see. It's whatever it is. It's a great story. Keep an eye on this one, because I do think that underlying the whole thing is an appreciation for, are we alone?
Yep.
And the more we look into the UAP UFO scenario, I think I hate to say it prepares us, but I don't know what the word is, but I think it does kind of give us a little bit of the feeling that we're not alone. And that is a positive to me.
It'll soften the blow for some people, because that's going to be, you could imagine if an actual spaceship like we see in the movies decided to come here, make orbit, hover above the sky, there's going to be some interesting happenings going on Earth, and I don't think a lot, not all good in some cases with that, whether they're benevolent or not. It's just, I think our own fears are going to completely take over in a lot of cases, right? So, but one thing I thought about when it comes to some of this technology and UFOs is that we're always looking external. It's got to be aliens. It's got to be this. It's got to be something from another solar system or planet. But I think that when I look back and I reflect on the sheer brilliance of some people that have emerged in society, people like Einstein and Tesla, and I mean the list, and Curry. I mean the list is massive. But these people that really stood above and beyond, what humans can do and what we can be. Now, can you imagine privately? It doesn't have to be public. We always think that it's a country or it's a government or it's a military that are doing these things. But what if privately people that have that actual capacity of thought got together and decided, let's see what we can do together. Let's see what we can do. And they got together, and there's all these people out there that have that capacity. This could be actually Earth grown. It could be actually something that's happening that's actually coming from the Earth itself. It doesn't have to be extraterrestrial. It could just be, like you said, highly classified, but it could even also be private.
Yeah.
We just don't
Well,
know, right?
start a blog and get a bunch of readers. I'm telling you, I'll monitor you. I will see where you go. But Avi Loeb, was trying to do at Harvard, trying to get some money up. I'm not sure he's got very much money yet, but he's.
I heard he got some private funding and I think it was about $1 million or something like that, if I remember. Don't quote me on it, but that won't get you too
I heard
far.
him say that the other day. That's not going to go very far.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's not going to happen there.
That'll buy you a hammer.
It's been encouraging, in this subject area, that the NASA administrator, Bill Nelson, has stepped forward and brought this into the spotlight in the context of life elsewhere. But he's definitely, I gather, put together some kind of group that's within NASA to see what NASA can do. And it's a great, it's just one of those, unfortunately, I grew up in San Diego with George Adamski, coming down from Mount Palomar in the old flying saucer days. And he just got back from Venus,
Yeah.
And, I believed him. I thought, well, he said it was hot. He said Venus was hot. Yeah. He must have gone.
Yeah.
The hucksterism in the UFO and some now in the UAP community is not helpful. And I think we got to be careful of really where we're going here with who's got data. And I think Avi Loeb has certainly put the foot down and said, look, data speaks for itself, and we got to get the data. Yep. And, I don't know about Oumuamua and all the interstellar, asteroid, comet, whatever the hell that thing was when it flew by.
Yep.
It's just a great story evolving, and we ought to keep an eye on it. That's all
Yep. No, I agree with you. No, I think, I mean, obviously we're getting I want to make sure that, your wife doesn't, get a little too aggravated at me keeping you too long. But I do have one question I want to kind of finish the show with, because, as things go forward, and, one thing I'd like to talk about, and I've talked about this on other shows, is kind of breaking into space and getting into STEM and getting into this industry, whether it be as a journalist or, as a citizen scientist or anything like that. I think that, the path isn't always clear and it isn't always straightforward. And I wonder if you had any suggestions for the audience. How do we get into, I mean, I've heard things about, well, just start writing but, I think that we have to be cognizant of that. A lot of the industry, especially from the advocacy side, is really run by volunteers. It's a lot of people out there that are really doing this on their own accord, at their own time, and on their own dime. So, I mean, how do people actually have a career in what you do and what, in space, and actually be able to become a journalist and to work in this industry? Do you have any kind of guidance and some mentoring that you can provide the audience to say, how do we pass the torch? How do people continue this and actually do so and actually be to make a career out of it?
Well, I tell you, when you go career, it really, I guess I got a career out of this. As you get older, they go veteran space, journalist, and I'm not sure I like that, but anyway. Yeah. Veteran, it sounds like I've really gone through like World War V or something.
Yeah, I didn't actually introduce you that way, because I thought about that myself. Like,
well,
let's get 2 meetings.
I think, I'm not sure my profile really works for younger people today. The internet is so powerful to follow all the blogs that are out there, to follow all the websites. And some of those websites pay for good journalism. I mean, you can't just write to write. You got to be good. You got to find, and I think the only thing I can, and I'm not sure every day I do this, but I try, I try to find stuff that nobody's found.
Mm-hmm.
I try to find things that nobody's going to pay attention to, and maybe put a zing on there, something that I heard from something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's just me, but I think the younger writers, you just can't take a NASA press release and kind of move the back end up to the front or something. You really got to add something here.
Original content. You have to.
Original content, and what your heart tells you. This doesn't make sense. I mean, if you have that in your mind, boy, that doesn't make sense. Because I read that paper from something, Nature magazine, and it just doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm.
I just had one yesterday that I found fascinating. It was a new paper, and again, internet. You can go into all these scientific papers. There was a new paper put out by Don Hassler and another guy from SWRI, Southwest Research Institute, about radiation on Mars. And why are they writing that paper? They're taking all the data from the radiation detector that's been glued onto Curiosity, that's been moving around since August of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, we saw a whole radiation drop next to the Butte, Murray Butte on Mars. Okay, why is that? And they're making a case, the terrain has a lot to do with the radiation. So, and then you get into lava tubes on Mars. Okay, can you go down in a lava tube? I put that in the story. But the other thing is really that I didn't get to was whether or not certain parts of Mars that are shielded from radiation are conducive to microbiology.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't have to worry about the UV, and the Martian life is susceptible to UV and all that. We don't know. So they're marching around with Curiosity going through. I just posted a bunch of pictures this morning. Curiosity is doing fantastic. It's going up Mount Sharp. It's on its way up.
Yep.
And it's it's a tedious exercise, but they're learning a lot as they move up that mountain. Sediment layers, and I don't know. I'm just a reporter. I'm just saying, okay, they're curious about radiation on Mars being shielded. Are there places on Mars where perhaps microbiology can better survive? And do we know? I don't know. I wrote one of the guys on the paper, and he goes, "We haven't written that paper yet." Okay. Well, I said, "Write that paper." Let's go. Let's see where we are. That's fun about Mars. Wow. What a great saga we've been on for quite a while.
It's amazing.
And I think cannot forget the difficulty of looking for life on Mars means what for Europa, Enceladus, all these other places that people go, life.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a little further away to look.
It's been a tough row on Mars, and I think there's a lot of examples there, and we're still not there.
We've learned a lot, though. We've learned a lot, and I mean, I always love watching Curiosity, and sometimes when they do the shots and show, like the tattered wheels, that it's been working hard. It's been working really hard, and you show it. You see the battle scars, on the rover, and it's like that robot has really opened our eyes, and it doesn't owe us anything. It has superseded, it has exceeded, I should say, it has exceeded all of our expectations. And I'm actually amazed, when these missions go up, whether it's Hubble, whether it's Curiosity, they say, oh, it's going to be a 5-year mission. It's going to last for 10 years, 20 plus years later. we're seeing these, these miraculous feats of engineering are still going, and they're still providing immense value today. And it's just, good job. And that's where we talked about highlighting the humans that actually sat there and designed and built and put the love and effort into these. And the fact that they're still going well double or triple past their life expectancy. Standing ovation basically is required, I think, in terms of what they were able to do. I
do remember somebody on the Spirit or Opportunity, with the Mars exploration rovers, it was way past the warranty. And we're talking years after where it was supposed to go. And I remember this person going, I kind of wish it would kind of expire because I haven't seen my wife in about 5 years.
That's a good, yeah. Well, you're too involved in it, I guess.
I know. But they go on and we're good at this. This is really, and China's moving out with their Zhurong rover. I think there's some exciting things coming out of that, and it's taken a while to pull the data together. But I think we're going to be surprised. Keep an eye on what China's going to announce about where they are.
Yep, let's look at. So Leonard, I definitely want to thank you. I mean, I think it's time to kind of wrap up the show, and I want to really thank you, and for the audience, thank you for dropping by and all your great comments, and without you, we have no one to talk to, and without my great guests like Leonard David, I have no one to talk to, and I do have some friends. I do talk to other people, but without you, I don't have as many people to talk to. So I really appreciate you, Leonard, coming, and for the audience, I definitely want to direct your way to Leonard David has written a number of books. We have I'll throw up a couple here: Mars, our future on the red planet. We also have Leonard David. So, and of course, Buzz Aldrin, Mission to Mars, that you co-author with Buzz Aldrin. So head over to Amazon. Make sure you pick up a copy of these. They're fabulous pieces of work. And in terms of the Mars Society, absolutely head over to our site. We have our website that you can go to as well. And I'll just kind of put that there so you can see it. This is what I called about technical glitches, right? So let me just get that background off there and throw up here just so that people actually have it. I usually have this going. So marssociety.org. So to learn about what we do, to learn about potentially joining a chapter, any of our upcoming events, make sure that you actually drop by and join. And, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. We are everywhere. And, eventually hopefully that we can actually broadcast this show live from Mars, and hopefully Leonard will join me when we get there. Hopefully in the near future. And, I appreciate your time, Leonard, and you've been fantastic. I love talking to you. And I think the audience was just extremely chatty, and they definitely enjoyed your time today. So thank you very much. And I think with that, I'll say adieu. And Leonard, again, thank you very much. And I appreciate you and everything you do. And I look forward to maybe chatting with you again in the future.
Well, thanks for the bandwidth.
Okay. Thank you, Leonard, and talk soon.
Okay.